this will likely be my last video review for the night. As you probably noticed, or when you decide to watch some of my reviews, I'm a big fan of the story of the battle between good and evil, regardless of whether they're by Stephen King or even there is one particular movie that I feel really covers the battle between good and evil very well, and I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, I guess when it first came out, nobody ever thought that Disney would do something like this. Oops. Now, I read the book sometime after watching the movie, but I must have been one of those that really liked the movie. I was a little surprised myself when I found out it was also by Walt Disney, but to be honest, with some of the things that I've heard about with Disney, from the classics to the modern ones, well, this movie, I've liked it ever since I was about between 8 and 10, and I saw it several times when I got further up in my teens, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, if Disney's not exactly known for, well, at least when it comes to sad moments and to a degree scary moments, if that's the case, then why did this flop as badly in theaters? Once again, your guess is as good as mine. Because having it right here in front of me, I thought it was really pretty good. I did not find it that creepy, although there are certain scenes that would definitely give certain people the creeps. I think it was one of the first movies by Disney that actually was it was pretty dark. Jonathan Pryce, let's see where I can find him. Jonathan Pryce, who is a very well-known British actor these days, he plays the primary villain, per se, in this movie. And like I've said on a couple other blogs and things like that, this particular movie, in its own way, is a more, well, believe it or not, a more kid-friendly version of Stephen King's adaptation, either the book or the movie, of Needful Things. Jonathan Pryce, who plays Mr. Dark, he reminds me of a somewhat more subtle, but in some ways just as creepy, version of Max von Sydow as Mr. Leland Gaunt. One thing I really liked about this movie, as often... Whoops, I got the Mr. Gaunt pose. One thing I've always liked about certain movies, especially the ones that are supposed to be scary, when the musical score, whether it's kid-friendly or not, if the musical score captures a moody tone and does it correctly, per se, the music doesn't usually make the movie for me. Believe me when I tell you, it quite often does not kill it. Such is the case with both Needful Things and Something Wicked This Way Comes. The movie Something Wicked, as some would call it, because that's the shorter version of it, it's still the same movie, but this is one of the weirdest movies ever seen by Disney. And not even Pirates of the Caribbean or even animated The Black Cauldron can quite top the creepiness of this one. And I wish I was kidding when I say that, but I'm not. There are a lot of scenes in Something Wicked that you're just gonna be like, I mean, when I found out this was by Disney, I was kind of shocked myself, but not shocked to the point of not being able to like it anymore, because that's just not what happened. The music alone is very ominous. There are some very, very creepy scenes in this. There's, in particular, there's some... I still have yet to figure out how certain movies from the 80s, not just by Walt Disney, but certain movies from the 80s, how they managed to make special effects so convincing. And like I said, I'm not just talking about Disney or anything like that. In particular, there's one other movie that was made in the early 80s, and I saw it several times. But what I found hard to believe was how, towards the end of the first Indiana Jones, or Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you will, when the Nazis first opened the Covenant, I don't know how they did that, because it looked very, very convincing, not to mention downright freaky. But more on those later. Because this review is supposed to be mostly on Something Wicked, not anything else. This, like I keep saying, this is one of the creepiest movies ever seen by Disney. And there's a few things that happen in this movie that are very, very odd, to say the least. And Mr. Dark has his own subtle creepiness to him already, mostly because of Jonathan Pryce, and the musical score by James Horner. Those are an idea who he is. James Horner is a lot like John Williams, who's done a lot, if not all, of Steven Spielberg's movies, at least the musical score. But with Something Wicked, he captured the moodiness and the creepiness of Something Wicked like you wouldn't believe. James Horner did. There's even some scenes in this movie that even if you, I became a fan of scary movies not because of this movie, mostly because of Scream, but that was just the start of that. On that note, there are some, you're sitting there watching it and you're thinking, my gosh, was this really, am I really watching a movie that was created by Disney? Well, depending on your point of view, I hate to bust your bubble, in some ways, yes, it was by Disney, even though it was a flop, and there are those who want to pretend it doesn't exist, which I don't think is fair, because it's one of those that, yes, it is pretty creepy, and it is pretty scary in its own way, but it's not one of those that you're going to be watching it with personally, I would not recommend it. I would not recommend it to anyone under the age of 12, because, let's be honest, there's some really, really creepy, there's not so much a lot of adult content in it, but there's a lot of things that parents are going to watch it, and they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to have to explain this to my son and my daughter, and they may not be able to understand it. There's some lines by Mr. Dark or Jonathan Pryce that the way he delivers them, and they're just so doggone creepy, you cannot help but literally get chills up your spine. And in some ways, it's the way he delivers the lines. Then, of course, there's one of the good guys, Jason Robards, who is the the elderly father of one of the two boys who encounters this carnival almost firsthand, or should I say in some ways face to face. And once Mr. Dark finds out that these boys are kind of spying on him and the carnival, ugh, the way they intimidate these two boys, it's just like, once again you're thinking, okay, as good as this movie is, would Disney have approved of it? Or would he be turning over in his grave? That is anybody's guess. I cannot say yes or no, because I have heard about a lot of scenes, or scary moments per se, from a lot of Disney movies, and this particular movie, in my opinion, is probably one of the creepier ones, animated or not. And if you don't want to take my word for it, believe it or not, it is actually one of those very, very hard movies to find. But if you can find it, check it out. You, it is a creepy movie. But if you're worried about your kids having nightmares, well, my best suggestion is to watch it before you watch it, before you let your kids watch it, or better yet, watch it with them. That's the best advice right there. Now, like I said, I've loved this movie since I was about between 8 and 10. It didn't scare me then, and for the most part it doesn't scare me now. But whenever I watched movies when I was younger, I quite often said, would this be okay to watch with my kids, if I would have had kids? Some movies are a little more questionable than others, but what can you do and what can you say? It's, to me, it's very, very good, if not for another reason than it's about the battle between good and evil. And that apparently is a never-ending battle, in one form or another. So, check it out, because don't let the fact that it scared a lot of Disney fans away, because frankly I think that's unfair. The fact that the Walt Disney name is behind this movie, or the ones that distributed this movie, to me, they took a chance with a movie like this, and creepy or scary or whatever you want to call it, to me they took a chance and it worked. Thank you, and take care. Good night.